After studying this module, you shall be able to know about the significance of passwords, common approaches of password cracking, some methods for the prevention from password cracking. Using passwords and password management practices for providing access rights is a technique that is as long-standing as the antiquity of operating systems. Passwords are a system designed to be responsible for authentication. There are various methods to authenticate users of a system, such as a user can use a physical object like a keycard or prove his identity using a special characteristic like a fingerprint, or use something that are only the user knows. In contrast to the other methods discussed, a major advantage of using authentication through a password is that in the event that the password becomes compromised, it can be effortlessly changed. The majority of computer systems are still protected mainly with the username and password, and a lot of users employ the same password on multiple systems. With the rapid expansion of internet technologies, social networks and other related areas, user authentication becomes increasingly essential to protect the data of the users. Password validation is one of the extensively used methods to achieve authentication for authorized users and defense against imposters. There have been countless password cracking techniques developed during the past years, and individuals have been forecasting the countermeasures against password cracking all along. Password hacking is one of the easiest and most common way hackers get hold of the unauthorized computer or network access. Although strong passwords that are difficult to crack are easy to generate and retain, users often neglect this. For that reason, passwords are one of the weakest links of the information security sequence. Passwords exclusively depends upon the confidentiality. After a password is compromised, its original owner is not the merely one who can access the system with it, but the imposter can also do so. Hackers have countless methods to obtain passwords. They can gather passwords only by inquiring for them or by eyeing over the shoulders of users as they type them in. Hackers can also acquire passwords from local computers by using various types of password cracking softwares. To obtain passwords from across a network, hackers can use remote cracking utilities or network analyzers. Now we will discuss about the nature and extent of password cracking. The password has been used to encrypt the data or message of a long time in history, and it leads to the discipline known as cryptography. Additionally, with the rapid development of computer science, the password is now regularly used for the user authentication issue, which is very important to the internet security. There are generally 4 means of authenticating user identity based on: number 1, something the individual distinguishes, such as passwords, PIN, answers to specified questions. Number 2, something the individual owns, such as tokens like smart cards, electronic key cards or physical keys. Third, something the individual is having naturally, like static biometrics, for example fingerprints, retinal scans, facial recognition techniques. And the fourth one, something the individual does, like dynamic biometrics such as voice pattern, handwriting and typing rhythm. In the different ways and means, password authentication is broadly used line of defense against trespassers. In the password authentication system, user identification determines that the user is authorized to access the system at the user's right. It is also from time to time used in discretionary access control, meaning that others can log in using the privileged identity. When user make available the name or login and password, the system equates password with the one stored for that identified login. On the other hand, some users do not take note to the privacy or intricacy of the passwords with an assumption of having no such confidentiality collections upon internet. This allows the mischievous crackers to create the damage on the complete system if they are provided with an entry point to the system. Additionally, the higher speed computational processors have made the threats of system crackers, data theft and data corruption easier than earlier. Now we will discuss about some methods of password cracking. Since passwords remain the most extensively used mechanism to authenticate users, obtaining the password is still a common and effective attack approach. The traditional password cracking methods includes defrauding, stealing, user analysis, algorithm analysis and fully guessing among others, and some of them are discussed below. The first we will discuss is stealing of a password. Stealing can be accomplished by eyeing around the person's desk, shoulder surfing, sniffing the connection to the network to get unencrypted passwords, gaining access to the password database and malware. In the shoulder surfing, hacker will take the appearance of a parcel courier delivery man, service technician or something else to make them get across to an office. In the malware attack, the keylogger or screen scraper is usually installed by malware that can record everything the user types and take screenshots during the login process. Besides, some malwares try to look for the existence of a web browser client password file and copy the available passwords from the browsing history. The second method is defrauding. One more way to gain password is to defraud the user by social engineering or a phishing online. One instance is to telephone an office pretending as an expert IT security technician and ask for the user's account or network access password. In the phishing attack, users will receive a phishing email that contains links leading to simulated website such as the online banking and payment and make some appalling problems to account security. The third one is user analysis. Users have the tendency to generate the password based on the things they habitually chat about on social networks or somewhere else. Password crackers are likely to look at this kind of information and make a few speculation during the cracking of passwords. The hackers can reduce the password cracking time by analysis of the special users according to their characteristics, such as the individual's name, job title, interest, relations, hobbies and so on. One of such kind of attack is known as spidering. The hackers understand that many corporate passwords are generated by connecting to the business itself. They attempt to construct custom word list by the studying of corporate literature, website material and listed customers, etc. The next method is quite technical, which is known as algorithm analysis. Algorithm analysis attacks focus on the used encryption algorithms such as cryptanalytic attacks, which are also used in the decryption of ciphertext. It depends upon the nature of the algorithm, selected knowledge of the common characteristics of the text and some sample of plain text ciphertext pairs. This kind of attack abuses the characteristics of the algorithm to attempt to gather a specific plain text or the keys. The next method is completely guessing. The widely used kind of method for password cracking is the entirely guessing, which includes the dictionary attack, brute force attack, hybrid of dictionary and brute force attack, rainbow table attacks, etc. The first we will discuss is dictionary attack. It is the most commonly used maneuver to break into the system. In this dictionary attack, a large dictionary containing a possible password is used by the hackers trying to gain the access to the user's computer or network. The common tactic is to applying the similar encryption method to the dictionary of passwords to compare with the copy of the encrypted file containing the passwords. The next is brute force attack. Brute force attack can crack any passwords if given ample time. Brute force attack attempts every combination of numbers, letters and special characters until the password is discovered. Brute force attack guesses the password using the random approach by trying different passwords and anticipating one works. This methodology is different from the dictionary attack in the use of non-dictionary words which can contain all possible alphanumeric even special character combinations. The next is rainbow table attacks. In the rainbow table attacks, the hacker use a rainbow table that is a list of pre-computed hash values of the encrypted passwords. Rainbow table contains a connection between a hash value and its corresponding password. By having this connection pre-calculated for all possible hash values, a quick search through the tables for the desired hash value can reveal the password. Now we will see about some countermeasures for password cracking. The protecting of passwords from compromised and unauthorized use is a vital issue since the password remain the most common approach for authentication. The countermeasures for password cracking could be accomplished in two stages. Generally, that is the password design stage and after the generation of password. First we will discuss about the password design stage. In this, there are certain categories in which the first is the user education. Users can be educated with the importance of using strong password and be trained how to generate hard to guess passwords using some password selection tactics. For instance, the password must not contain capital letters and small letters, numbers and special characters. The length of the password must not be less than a certain number or the use of passphrase which is generally longer than a word or the use of beginning characters, each word in a memorable sentence, etc. The next is dynamic passwords. Use of one-time passwords or OTPs or dynamic passwords and static passwords are proposed by several experts, of which one-time password is one way to provide a high level of security. The dynamic password stipulates that the password is changed frequently or at the short interval of time, which the static password means the password is the same for all the time when logging on the system. The organization could force some requirements for the users to change the password periodically, for example, weekly, monthly or over every half year. In a one-time password scheme, a new password is required each time when the user logs on the account to prevent the hackers from using a pre-compromised password. The length of the time interval can be based on the sensitivity of the protected information. The next is use of tokens. The password can be generated by using some security tokens that are used to ease authentication by authorized user and computer services. The token may be a physical device such as a smart card. The password appearing on the token can be changed regularly with the time interval, which achieves the dynamic password mechanism and reduces the importance of stolen passwords because of its short time validity. Furthermore, regularly shifting passwords decrease the likelihood of successful cracking by brute force attack if the attacker uses the password list within a single shift. After the user types in the password appearing on the token, the password on the server site may already changed to the next one due to the time delay. The token can be also equipped with inserted switch algorithms. In this case, the user types in the numbers appearing on the token, then the calculator will generate a password using the inserted algorithms. Next is computer generated passwords. Users can also use a computer generated password for their account. Using some pre-design, the computer generated passwords ordinarily make sure that a certain length contains special characters, is unpronounceable, which is difficult for the hackers to crack successfully within a short time. However, computer generated password is not easily remembered for the users due to the fact that is mostly meaningless. The next is after the generation of password. In this, there are certain categories, and the first one is reactive password. Checking in the reactive password checking approach, the system intermittently runs its own password cracker to find guessable passwords. The system will cancel passwords that are guessed and notifies the user. The disadvantages are that it consumes resources very much, and the hackers can also use this strategy to find the weak passwords if they get the password file copy. Next is proactive password checker. Another way to reject weak password is proactive password checking. Different with reactive password checking, proactive password checking allows users to select their own password. However, the system will check if the password is allowable or not. The objective is that users can select memorable passwords that are difficult to guess. Many researchers have designed their proactive password checkers. The next is password encryption. The password encryption protection include the hash functions. In the computer security and cryptography, hash functions refer to the algorithms that take a variable size input and return a fixed size string output as the hash value. This approach ensures that any changes on the input data will result in a different hash value. There are several common characteristics of hash functions, including the easy computation, pre-image resistance, second pre-image resistance, and collision resistance. Next is access control. The common belief is that if the hackers cannot get the password files, then the password cracking competency will be very much reduced, because that the hacker cannot perform the offline guessing. According to this analysis, the password files access control is essential and efficient for the control of the password cracking, and this method is used in some systems. Password file access control method also holds some weaknesses, such as the weakness in the operating systems that let access to the password file, inadvertent permission of making the password file readable, sniffing password transmit in network, and weak challenge or response scheme in network protocols, etc. Now let us summarize this chapter. In this chapter, we have learned that passwords are the system designed to be responsible for authentication. There are various methods to authenticate users of a system, such as a user can use a physical object like a key card, or prove his identity using a special characteristics like a fingerprint, or use something that only the user knows. Password validation is one of the extensively used methods to achieve authentication for authorized users and defense against imposters. The password has been used to encrypt the information or message for a long time in the history, and it leads to the discipline known as cryptography. Password authentication is broadly used line of defense against trespassers. In the password authentication system, user's identification determines that the user is authorized to access the system at the user's right. The traditional password cracking methods includes stealing, defrauding, user analysis, algorithm analysis, and fully guessing. The countermeasures of password cracking could be accomplished into two stages generally, that are the password design stage and after the generation.